Faessler from Cedar Creek,
and
92.
The wine maker is Anne Sperling, who's one of our finest winemakers in British Columbia, up in the Okanagan, up at in Kelowna.
That's right.
The Kelowna area, and this is one of the oldest red grape varietals grown in British Columbia,
Right.
the Chancellor grape, and I think she's done a wonderful job
since the early '60s. Actually,
well, let's not wait. Let's taste it. I think this is going to go. I think you're right.
I think it's a great grape.
Yeah.
To go with anything, the stewed item of the shanks,
Right.
and also too when we do the venison chops, it's going to be a perfect match for both of them. So
it's going to be terrific. Listen, I was lucky enough to have a conversation with Anne up at the winery during a vineyard picnic during the Okanagan Wine Festival. You know, it's like the worst time to visit a winemaker in the Okanagan.
That's right.
In the fall.
I'm sure she got you to do some work.
Well, no, she wanted to, but anyway, I have a great little bit of film. So let's take a look at that afternoon's conversation with Anne Sperling, and we'll be right back.
Determines if the canopy is correct.
Good, get it, yeah.
Thank you.
I got about three times as much. I guess I really rate. Cheers.
Cheers. You can determine it, and the canopy's okay.
Anne, it's great to be here at Cedar Creek. Thanks for taking the time out in a very busy time for you. Oh. Now, what is that gunshot? Is that to scare the birds?
Yes, that's right. It's not a real gunshot. It's a propane.
It's like a little cannon.
Powered, right. Looks like a small cannon.
I hope you heard that at home, but there's a small cannon shot. And that's to scare the robins and starlings and things, because at this time of year, the grapes are at their best, and they're full of sugar and juice, and they're just beautiful, and of course the birds love them too.
Yeah, everything we like about them, the birds love even more.
That's right. So, and this is a kind and humane way to scare the birds
scare them away.
Let's try some wine. You have some Gewürztraminer?
That's right. I'd like you to try some.
I'd love to try some. It's so nice out here today. It's October. It's the wine festival, the harvest, the crush, that great time of year.
Yeah, and well, in fact, we're picking Gewürz today.
Are you? Oh, perfect. That's very timely. So it's a nice nose. Now tell me a little bit about this wine. This is
Our 1991 Gewürz.
This is the flagship of your varietals, of your wines, and it's what perhaps Cedar Creek is best known for.
Right, we've really built a reputation for our Gewürz, and what was exciting for me is last year, coming in my first year at Cedar Creek, the 91 vintage being my first vintage, and having to sort of take over that legacy, and it was a real challenge for me, and I think that it's turned out extremely well. You
must be very charged up because it's the wine festival, it's the harvest, it's the busiest and most important time of year for you, but also it's a wine festival. There are competitions. This is your first, the first year that you've actually been able to have a finished product that you started from harvest to the very end, the 1991 vintage here in 1992, and so and I think from tasting this, and you shouldn't worry. You're probably going to sweep the board with awards.
Yeah, we'll see. But you're right. This is a pretty fun and stressful time of year.
We're
having
it's
fun.
Like my show.
We're making lots of decisions. We're working hard, and we also have everyone watching. So it's a pretty exciting time of year.
What other varietals? I mean, these wines, these are, as I said, your first vintage here at Cedar Creek.
Right.
What other varietals do you like? These are all your children, of course. Do you have a favorite?
Well, last year being a very good year, we had a very warm fall. We had excellent grapes to start with. Right. And so I think we've produced some very good wines. And I was particularly pleased with some of our barrel fermented wines, our Pinot Blanc, and in particular our Chardonnay.
And a lot of people are not familiar with Chardonnays in the Okanagan. We do some really nice Chardonnays here in BC.
Right. I think the vineyards are more and more mature, so they're contributing more flavors.
Of course, it changes.
We're learning how to grow them better.
Every year the vines get better too. Let's try a little bit of the Chardonnay.
Sure.
I'm glad it's open. Now that Gewürztraminer is wonderful. Well, let's try this. Now, it's a little bit deeper in color, of course, because of the varietal, but it's very young, eh? 1991.
Right, the 1991. We're just actually releasing it. And
there's oak on this.
Yes, it was fermented in some older French oak barrels and on the lees for 4 months. And then we cleaned the lees out of the barrels and put it back in.
Do you mind, for
to the
people who
same
don't
ones.
know, could you explain what the lees are? Because that's an important part of making of this wine.
Right. Well, the lees is actually the yeast cells that once they've finished the fermentation, they fall to the bottom of the barrel.
That's right.
But at that time, the yeast are not active, but they do contribute some flavors that perhaps is toasty or buttery flavors.
Exactly. That butter, maybe it's a bit. I detect some butterscotch, buttery, toasty, as you say. It's very, very nice.
Right, and that's the older barrels and the lees. And then we produce some of the wine in stainless steel to retain some of the fruit and the acidity. And we blended that back just prior to bottling to give it a little bit more liveliness to go with food better.
So, some you've done in stainless steel?
Right.
And some in oak?
Right, it's about 60% in oak and 40% in stainless steel.
No kidding. Okay, so is that marked on the label?
No, we haven't put that on because each year the proportions might change a tiny bit.
Different.
And it just depends right down to the last minute before we're bottling. I'm putting the blends together and tasting them to come up with the final blend.
And it's so many people don't realize how much work it is as a vintner. It's not just what you do with the juice once you have it. It's at this time of year, you have to be very careful when to pick the grapes, how long and of course it changes from varietal to varietal.
That's right.
Not every variety is the same, so you want to leave some grapes on a little longer, but that's the time that you have to know when you're out there tasting the grapes, know when to pick them, and then you have the juice and you make the wine, and then as you say, you blend some steel Chardonnay with the oak Chardonnay to get the right balance, that character, that's your signature.
Yeah, that's right.
No two people, no two winemakers are going to make the same wine from the same varietal. Anne has her own way, and now everyone knows what she's doing. But you can't copy. It's like a recipe. You can write down a recipe, but you can't copy it exactly. And you couldn't even make this wine the same next year.
No, and
because the grapes would be different.
That's right. That's the beauty of
the oak could be a little older or a little younger. Yeah, that's right.
That's right. Well, we'll have some older barrels and younger barrels and all of that, and that all contributes.
There's one more thing I'd like to talk about very quickly before we go, and that's this is very, very special. This is an ice wine, a very limited amount, limited edition. It's a Riesling.
Yes, it's made from our own estate-grown Riesling. We produced it last fall in the cold snap we had, which was actually a blessing because we have Riesling.
You didn't expect it to happen
wine,
either.
Yeah, no.
You didn't expect to make this ice wine, but the grapes froze, and you went out there. Did you get all your friends and everyone?
Well, we had a crew ready to come out, and
great.
all of our best people actually that work in the vineyard, and we had them come out and carefully handle the grapes because it's a very delicate process.
They're all frozen.
And you have to do everything while the grapes are still frozen, so it's timely, and we were up late and up early, and
you only have that one
we didn't
opportunity
sleep for about 2 days.
And that, there's a lot of labor. There's a lot of labor of love in this wine. It's a limited edition. There are very few bottles, 80 cases, I think.
That's right.
So seek it out. It's well worth a purchase. And well, listen, Anne, we've got to go back to the studio, so let's wrap this up. And thanks, Anne Sperling, for joining us at a very busy time of year.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Gary.
Thanks. Great to be here anytime. Back to Vancouver.